and welcome everybody to podcast number 35 of the Gordon and Cherise show. And we are so glad to have you back. And today's topic, it's for the audience, and we want to ask you, what's your comeback story?
Absolutely.
Such an important question to ask.
It is a good question to ask.
And you may not feel like you have one yet because you've just been dealing with some things that are quite unexpected or pain that's become insurmountable. You may say, well, it might be too early to have a comeback story, but maybe it isn't.
And I think a lot of people measure their lives against what they think a comeback story is. Sometimes, no matter the significance of the story, we all make some type of comeback, where comebacks are all about change. Yes, it can be about the awesomeness of our humanity and different changes that have occurred. But I think it's important to note when we're knocked down. Let's take a boxer who's knocked down. Mm-hmm. It's not that we're not going to get knocked down. How are we going to respond? Are we going to get back up? And so that's part of the ingredients of a good comeback story. And we know this, that comeback stories are chock full of all these overcoming victories, no matter what the size is. And yes, it does show our awesomeness. But what it does is this: when you see someone making a comeback, you don't see them just returning to their old self or normalizing their old circumstances. You see something new out of them.
Well, that boxer may have a scar on their face that they didn't have before that fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they may have adapted a new technique and taken a holistic approach to their style of boxing and had a different influence on the environment outside of the ring. So we see this with someone. For instance, if you've seen someone lose a lot of weight.
Like you.
Oh, thank you, Cherise.
Well, I mean, you did, I would say, right?
I lost quite a bit of weight.
Okay.
At one time. This was in the year 2006.
Okay.
And I've kept it off, and this is 2021.
You've done great, honey.
But the comeback was, for instance, wearing double XL, and now you see me wearing medium and sometimes small, having a 46-inch waist, and now it's a 32-inch waist. Yeah. So those different changes, people can see the comeback, but it wasn't just about losing the weight, okay? It was seeing something extraordinary happen within me, because we can focus on our comeback story on one small thing, but it's like throwing a pebble into a quiet river and then we see the concentric rings come out. It did have a positive effect on our family, decision-making, reducing compulsive behaviors, finances, the way we eat. So sometimes little things that we do, little behaviors where those changes are happening, affect even the big picture. And we can be overcomers through our comeback stories.
You know, as you say that, it's so funny because none of your pain went away because you lost weight. So your chronic pain is a chronic pain.
And we were actually hoping that I would have diminished irritation to my joints and reduced pain.
Happened.
That has not happened.
But it's amazing and remarkable that sometimes it's not dealing with the thing that's not solvable. Like the pain part, when your nerves are constricted and you've got the spinal stenosis in your neck that you deal with.
Yes, I do.
That may not be recoverable on this earth, right? But the thing is, it's so interesting to me that the nudging that God put on your heart at that point was working on something that didn't directly deal with that pain, but it was something that was affecting other parts of your being. And so he gave you the grace to work through something you could change about your life. Some things are not solvable, but the things you can change, Gordon, you just immediately stepped up to the plate in a very bold way when you finally said, I can do this. No matter how I feel, I can do this. This part I'm going to do. This is my body is a temple of God, even if it's broken and it hurts. My body is something that I can't just let it disintegrate on top of the pain. So you just finally said, okay, I surrender. Again, surrender. And I thought it was remarkable to watch that transformation of weight loss in your life.
I'd also like to underscore this fact, by the way. You have a remarkable comeback story. Okay? I met you with a 4-year-old child, and you came out to Colorado because you left your sense of Egypt in Texas. Mm-hmm. So you came out to the promised land of Colorado and had $80 left to your name after your paychecks, and that was supposed to be for food and everything.
And I was 22 trying to take on the world.
You were 22 trying to take on the world all by yourself, and you had a love for God, and you came out here trusting God, but you had no clue where you were going.
No, I just knew I was called.
Okay, so let's look at the transformation and the comeback story in your life. You've been a top business leader now 24 plus years. You've been top 1 to 2% in real estate sales the entire time. You're on a couple different boards. You have great community influence. You're not just a top business person, but a successful mother and wife, and dealing with chronic pain. That's a comeback story that doesn't get talked about enough.
Thank you.
And that's why we have our podcast, to share your side. So I would ask you, what was some of the secret sauce or the seasoning that occurred in your life to help you become an overcomer, even with your circumstances?
To turn around and face the pain, to accept that that it's no matter what life deals with us, there has to be a decision. Are we going to persevere or run away from these trials? And early on, just having a teenage pregnancy was not an easy decision to choose life, and it divided my family for the time. It was a very hard decision, but I have the best blessing out of that, which, now he's almost 30 years old. And to make a decision, I think for me, Gordon, truthfully, as you are asking me that, and it's coming to mind, this is just me free thinking through this.
This is what this podcast is about. It's free thinking.
If my life was reduced to the size of myself, I would not have a comeback story.
I agree with that.
If my life was only about me, I think I could have almost had suicidal tendencies, because I had so much to reconcile about my own past, even before a teenage pregnancy.
Right.
I think for me, my life started becoming alive when I had a son, and I had to make a decision to be a grown-up immediately. And then when we got married and you unexpectedly took a huge setback with chronic pain that you never expected.
Never expected
and
it.
So and I'm not saying that for people to feel sorry for me. It's like we all make our choices, right? But I think I love you. I love my son. I love our other son, Jake. We have a great family. And I think that my comeback story is because I've been able to say, and now even being at this season of life where my mom is needing more care and love and affection, it's like I live for the others in my life. And because of that, I just know that there's a reason to keep going and to have a comeback story. It's not time to give up. It's loving others. God calls us to love ourselves and to love others. That's really almost, besides widows and orphans, it's loving others and loving ourselves. And that is really the extent of true religion, if you look through that in the lens of what Jesus said, right?
Yes, it is.
And I think that I've allowed myself to give myself more grace, to love myself more as I continue to mature. And the more that I find that I can love myself, and I'm not saying live for myself, but loving oneself is actually so that you can love other people. that your cup overflows and you have something to give. And if we had not met, this love story could not have been told.
Right.
If we had not met, there would have been our two boys would have not come together. Our family, there wouldn't have been a family. There wouldn't have been something to actually persevere through. I think that my comeback story is just wrapped around the people I love the most.
Right. And a lot of times our comeback stories, from what I'm hearing, it did not happen to you by the comeback story taking its own initiative in your life. Mm-hmm. You had to be the instrumental part of the story.
By God's grace and by feeling so inadequate through every thread of the story. I never feel that I myself am adequate to measure up to the battle that I'm in right now.
Right.
Even in certain business transactions, in all of the levels, when you level up in business, when you level up in life, there's bigger battles, there's bigger giants, but they are supposed to be bigger because then they fall harder, right? So and I've felt so inadequate because God's adequacy manifests in me through that.
Right. I've seen that.
Yes.
I've seen that. And I think with the comeback story, we overuse the word story. I know it's affiliated today in social media and business and digital marketing. It's story, 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 branding, branding, branding. Mm-hmm. I think what I appreciate about you and what you've helped bring to our family is your story is really your history. What are you bringing generationally? How are you helping a community? What influence do you have? And I know a lot of times you really don't focus on my story. You focus on where's my part in history with what's happening. And it just happens to be a great comeback story. But you really care about the accountability of each day with your history.
Because we're leaving a legacy.
We are leaving a legacy.
No matter what.
Absolutely.
There is somebody that is either going to benefit or they're not from the legacy of our life.
Right. So the best way to deal with failures for your own life, I'm hearing this. Keep going. Mm-hmm. Never give up. Persevere. And stay on the path. Would you agree with those?
Yeah. I'm not, when you say keep going, don't keep going towards foolish ways. Don't keep going in ways that you're not supposed to keep going in. Keep going in ways of being obedient to what you're called to do. Keep going in those ways.
Well, you've used a word in business, which I really like. You have used this word sanctified. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm sanctified or being set apart. Mm-hmm. So that focuses every day when you're set apart. It focuses on what disciplines do I utilize?
Yep.
What direction do I go? Mm-hmm. What is the vision? Yes, I love myself, but it's not all about me. It's more about the others around me and how do I conduct myself through the storms of life. Right. Can I, Cherise Sally and Gordon Sally, can we stand firm? Can we stand firm during the different challenges that we face all the time? And that comeback story, again, is not that God is calling us to get back to the old.
Exactly.
He's not calling you to become the 22-year-old that left a fairly affluent father. And you went out on your own and you rejected all of the money. You rejected all of the opportunities, but you were seeking God. You said, I'm going to be set apart. And you took your personal experience and related it to your professional experience, and you still do that today. Mm-hmm. Okay? Consequently, there's been fantastic fruit from it. So you've been trusted with the little things, and God has given you the bigger things.
He has, every time.
Right.
Every time.
Right. So the good news for those that are experiencing faith, the old parts about you are not subject to lifetime therapy to fix all the old sometimes. Okay?
Yeah.
But you're already presumed dead in those things when you have that faith. It's time to awaken and discover the awesomeness of who you are, even though you don't feel it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times through your trek of overcoming, did you feel this comeback story happening or emerging or being birthed like a butterfly from a cocoon?
At times, but there were other times where, again, we've talked about it too many times now, but it's so true. More of it is you feel like you're in a dark place. You don't know where it's leading, but you just have to trust.
Right. Mm-hmm. And when you ran out of trust, how did you regain trust?
I honestly, soaking in the word, I regained my trust because I can't even trust myself, right? My thoughts might be too wayward. I might be too emotional for that particular day at times. So my trust has to be in something bigger than myself. And it can't always be as much as we're in love. It can't be trusting just in you, because your pain creates times where things are back and forth, right? We
Yes,
can't
it does.
put our trust in it. We have to trust God as we love each other. Our trust has to be in God, that He's a good God working things out to our benefit in times of good, in times of bad, in times of famine, in times of abundance. He's working everything out still for our good. And it doesn't always mean that it's a multiplication of everything material in this world. For our good is really more about the eternal context of our forever life. For our good means something so radical and beautiful and transformative is being created outside of these material things that we can see. Too many people are just looking for the handout for the blessing. They're just looking for, give me this car, give me this house, give me this spouse, give me this, give me that, give me. And truthfully, I think that my prayers have really changed from those kind of things when I was younger to, I just love you, God. And I want your desire in me. I want your desire for what I need to desire to come before anything else. And it's a tug of war.
Right.
But that is a big, important thing, right?
And we'll start with the thought of the day, and I'll start today, is I've seen this, Cherise. Your comeback story and my comeback story, we're interlaced.
Very much.
And so what happens is, I think sometimes when you're weak, I'm stronger. Mm-hmm. And when I'm weak, you're stronger.
Always.
So we have this rubbing through communication and connection and putting thoughts in our mind.
That's the mystery of marriage, actually.
That is the mystery. That's that sanctifying piece of marriage.
Absolutely.
Where the end result for us is running the race and running it well and not giving up. So I've seen that. It's our comeback story. It's our history together. It's not just mine and it's not just yours. It's ours. And that's what our platform is built on. And
there is a comeback story for every listener that is here. And you might not be married, or you may have lost. My heart breaks actually with some of the response that we're getting from our community as we post these podcasts, and I hear my spouse left me because of pain. And my heart aches for that. So there are some people that their comeback story may not involve the person or the spouse that was standing by them through their pain. But there is one standing with you always.
Amen.
And so even if you feel more alone than you ever have in your pain, you're not alone.
Right.
God is with you.
Right.
He loves you. And He's going to see you through this.
And absolutely. Great thought to finish today's podcast.
Thank you.
Cherise, thank you so much.
Thank you,
And
honey.
stay tuned with us on Gordon and Cherise. And you can go to our website, gordonandcherise.com, to hear all the other podcasts. And stay connected with us on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. We know that some of those medias we're still growing.
Right.
These are seeds that are growing into something. We love the way it's going, and we want to smell the flowers along the way. And the flowers are your comments and your participation.
Yeah, we love
enjoy
it.
that. The fragrance of hope that you bring us. It's beautiful.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.